Today we're being joined by the Sandringham Dragons captain and potential AFLW draftee, Annabelle Embelton. Annabelle, thanks for coming on.
Thank you for having me. Very excited to be here.
No worries. So tell us a bit about yourself, what got you into footy and what type of player you are.
So I started footy in under-12s at the East Melbourne Knights. A big driver of that was my dad, who was my first coach. Had the support from my family, which was really good because girls footy wasn't massive at my local club. So I think just having the support from my family and my friends was really important to kickstart my footy journey. But I've been playing at the East Melbourne Knights for a while now, did some interleague, some next gen, and then had the opportunity to play at Sandringham Dragons for the last 2 years. And I have fulfilled a key back role. So I've rotated through full back and centre half back throughout the season. So I think that my playing type is very aggressive and I use my strength to my advantage to get front position of the ball. So, yeah.
It's good. Also, being co-captain with Maddie Torpy, who I've had on as well, how did that opportunity come about to be captain, and then how did you feel taking that responsible co-captain with Maddie?
Yeah, Maddie Torpy was great to co-captain with this season. I really appreciate her as a person and a player, so I think that she did amazing. But it was a voting system that we did at our pre-season training camp, and then Torpy and I were lucky enough to be elected to the co-captain position. And I think that when I got it, I was just really appreciative of the team for trusting us that we could co-captain the team throughout the season. And it was a big responsibility, but I felt like I could take it on, and I was really excited to get started and to lead the team through the course of the season. So, yeah.
Were you surprised when you got voted in for that role?
Yeah, I feel like I was a bit shocked, but I was just so grateful that, as I said before, that everyone trusted me to be that co-captain role. But yes, I was very shocked when I got it and very excited.
That's good. So obviously you mentioned yourself being a key defender. So what would you say is some of your strengths as a defender?
Well, I think one of my strengths is my strength. I think that I work really hard to make sure that I get front position of the ball. So I use strength in my arms, legs to push people out of the way. I think that my kicking is another one of my strengths, and my ability to kick long out of the back line and to clear it. And I think that just more from a not as much skills perspective, but for talking to the others in the back line and making sure everyone's in the right position. So I think being that leader and kind of the backbone of the back line that can help direct people and help if needed. So, yeah, those are the three of my strengths.
That's good. So, obviously, Sandringham Dragons obviously been a successful club in the men's and women's league as well. Why do you feel that they've been so strong for a long time? Because obviously some other sides, they alternate top to bottom, they float everywhere, but Sandringham Dragons in the men's and women's are always so high up. What do you think that is?
I think that we have a really good culture at the club, and I think that was really driven by Martha Cantwell, who was our coach who came in this year. And I think the assistant coaches as well and the girls, I think that it's such a family environment, so everyone gets excited to come to training, and we're also close as a team. So I think that really helps to drive our success on the field, because as much as you could have like so much talent throughout your team, it's just your connection at the end of the day that really shows off your strength and gets you the wins throughout the season. So I think that our culture that we built over the course of the season was something that drove that success.
So obviously with the draft coming up on Monday night, how are you feeling heading into that process, and how has the year been for you to handle with that type of pressure? And how have you dealt with it, especially in particular the last week or two?
Yeah, it's quite stressful thinking about it. I'm trying to not give it too much thought, because what happens is what will happen. I can't control it at the end of the day, so just try and take it as it comes. But I think throughout the year, it's always been a goal for me, and I understand that the draft is the opportunity, or the first one that we get to be part of the AFLW. But if I get the opportunity to get drafted, obviously it will be a lifetime dream, and I'll be so excited. And if I don't, I'm still happy to go through other pathways, because at the end of the day, it's my ultimate dream. So no matter how I get there, I'm just looking to always better myself so I can get there eventually. But I think throughout the year, it was just little things, trying to improve my skills and my weaknesses that I could really prepare myself and better myself as a player. So I think that that's just looking at the start of the year, looking towards the draft. I made sure that I would correct those weaknesses throughout the season so I could present myself as my best player when it came to this time. So, yeah.
Good. So how was the very first AFLW club interaction you had? How did you go leading into it compared to how you came out of it?
Is this interview-wise?
Yeah, clubs, yeah.
So I was fortunate enough to be part of the Vic Metro Training Hub at the beginning of the season. So it was, I don't really know how to explain it, but we had 10-minute meetings with lots of different clubs, kind of like a speed dating process, but they just kind of asked you about yourself and who you are as a player. So I think that obviously going to that, I was very nervous, but I just had to be confident in myself and what I was saying. And I think that as much as I was nervous when I sat down, and they were all really lovely when we were talking to them. So I think that coming out of it, I felt more confident. But yeah, that's kind of how it went with the first interview process.
That's good. So have you had any odd recruiting questions? I know a lot of people in the men's and women's league over time, you always hear about these questions that recruiters ask, like if you're a car, which car would you be? I was speaking to someone earlier and they had a question where they had, if you're at 30 seconds left in the game, what are you doing? Have you had any type of questions like that or anything off the cuff?
Well, one of them was, if you were to sit next to someone dead or alive at the dinner table, who would it be? So I said Taylor Swift because I'm a massive Taylor Swift fan, and then also said my grandpa because I think that he has such a worldly knowledge and that he knows so much. So I think that I usually have breakfast with him and so forth. So I love kind of gaining his knowledge and hearing new things from him because he's had so much experience. So that was my answer to that question. But yeah.
I've heard that one as well. That's been mentioned a few times as well. In some of the meetings that you've had with clubs or interviews that you had, have you ever had any form of an indication where you feel that an individual club may be leaning towards you more than, say, another? Have there been any indication where you've seen more interest in one than the other?
Well, I feel like it's really difficult to say because you don't really know until you get to the draft night. So not too sure on that question because I feel like it is really dependent on what happens and what other clubs do on the night and like if a spot frees up for you. So kind of just taking it as it comes and we'll see what happens.
So have you nominated for the national draft or the state draft?
Just the state draft.
Yeah. Oh, nice. Is there any particular reason that you lean towards that over the national one?
Well, I'm really close to my family and my friends here. And I think that at this stage of my life, I'm not ready to move out quite yet. So I nominated state because I would like to be based at home at the moment.
That's fair enough, too. So thoughts on the individual season for you personally so far, and what type of games you feel was the game that is going to get you recognised in this period?
So over the season, I was really confident with how I was playing. I think that I didn't make the Vic Metro squad halfway through the season when it came out, which was a very big setback for me, and definitely something that I struggled with for a while. But I think that instead of dwelling on the negatives, I decided to use it as an opportunity to better myself. So I had feedback from some of the Vic Metro coaches and I applied that to my training and tried to better my skills. So a lot of that was getting more run off the back line. So that's when I talked to Martha about moving to the centre half back position so I could kind of see my drive. And I think that one of my key games was against Gippsland out in Morwell. And that was a game after I heard about the Vic Metro, after I didn't make it. And I was really determined to go out there and like kind of show recruiters and all like what I could do. So I think that was one of my biggest games of the season where I was able to fulfill that centre half back role and show my drive off the back line. And I'd say maybe there was a game against Chargers at Warrawee Park that we won that I think that I helped play a role in my backline position and just always acting to spoil the ball and make sure that my forward player wouldn't get the mark. So I think that was another monumental game in my season.
That's good. It's good. As you mentioned too, I mean, you obviously have that disappointment of not being put in the squad, and then it's probably a good thing that you had your best game after to prove to them that they could have been making a mistake and to get momentum going on from there. So it's a good thing. So what would you say is one of the toughest opponents you've had to match up in any of the competitions you've been a part of this year?
That's a good question. I think I would say Emma McDonald from the Oakley Chargers. I believe she is 2006 born, so I believe the draft year's next year. But I think that our heights matched up similarly, and she just had a lot of aerial experience and was really strong in the air. So I think that was one of my biggest challenges to try and spoil the ball as best as I could and make sure I get front position. But she was a very strong contender and definitely admire her game style. So I reckon that was my hardest player for the year.
That's good. So in any of the trainings or any of the game days, have you had any AFLW players give you any form of advice to handle this process? And if so, what advice have they given you to handle throughout this year and in the draft process in particular?
Well, at my school team, we're very lucky to have Liv Vesley as one of our assistant coaches from the St Kilda AFLW. Yep. So I think that her support throughout the year has just been, I've been really appreciative of. Tuesdays, Thursdays, I see her and she'd talk about her experience at the AFLW. And with the setback with Metro, she was really helpful. Just told me to keep persisting and keep doing my best, put my best foot forward. And I really admire her as a person, as a player. So I'm really grateful for Liv and all that she's done for me over the last 2 years that she's coached at my school. So I think that she was very monumental in helping me progress throughout this season.
That's good, because I've had a few of the Sandy Dragon girls on as well, and Liv seems to be getting mentioned. I was obviously just doing some good job there, and also had a good year at the Saints, finishing 4th in their BNF. Who do you grow up barracking for?
I'm a D supporter, so whole family's mad Ds. If I went for another team, my dad would probably kick me out of the house. But D's has been my team since I was young.
That's fair. How do you think they went in both the men's and women's competition this year?
Well, men's obviously starting off with was a bit disappointing with going out in straight sets for the 2nd year in a row. The game against Carlton that got us out of the finals was quite sad. Didn't go home too happy after that one. But I think the girls have posed a really strong side in the AFLW. Obviously, winning last year was incredible. And this season they put up a really good effort. Unfortunately, didn't make the grand final again. But I think they're really building a strong side, and the culture at the club is really strong at the moment. So I think we'll see a lot more of the AFLW women D's team coming up in the future.
Sure. Now, start of the year, Danielle Ponter kicked a great goal from the centre square. I don't know if you remember that icon park.
Yes.
Do you feel that you would be able to replicate that moment, or a teammate that would be able to replicate it, or who thinks they can but they really can't?
Oh, that was a good question. I mean, personally, I don't know if I could kick that. That was an amazing goal. I remember watching all the replays and it was just, oh gosh, it blew me away. I think at the club, obviously Maya Zielinski has a massive kick on her. She's her legs are so strong and just she gets a lot of distance on her kick. So I believe she could do it. Emily Goff as well. I think that she's really powerful with her kicking and can kick really long, as I've seen this season. So maybe she could be up in contention for it. But I don't know, maybe one day we'll be seeing them do that kind of stuff. But yeah.
That's fair. Any nicknames you get given that you like or dislike?
I get a few because my name's Annabelle, so it's quite long, so you can abbreviate it into little things. But I have Annie for some people. Only a small amount of people call me Belle. And then because my last name's Embelton, people abbreviate it to Embo. So those are the 3 ones, but it's more Annie, Embo. Those 2 are major ones. But I'm kind of happy with anything as long as my name has some correlation to it.
That's true. Any coach's pet at the Sandy Dragons?
Any coaches? Oh, I don't know if I can answer that one. It's a good question, but I think that at Sandy, everyone has really strong connections with the coaches, and I think that they're all role models for us, and no one tries to suck up to them, I don't think, because we're all so close and they're so supportive. So it's kind of just no one really tries hard to be the coach's pet, but everyone's really close to all the coaches, so that's positive.
That's fair. That's the safe answer for sure. Any outside of footy interests that you have?
Yeah, so I swam for my whole life. Swimming was a major part. I swam very competitively for 12, 13 years. Only gave that up this year when footy started to become a priority, but swimming was one of my hobbies for a long time. I love spending time with my family, friends. I like reading, so kind of just, doing a bit of everything. Yeah.
Now, obviously, being a key defender, there's not many goals that would be kicked, but in any form, it doesn't have to be for Sandy Dragons, it can be in any competition. Have you ever kicked a goal, and what would be the best goal you feel you've ever kicked?
Well, this is funny because it was at the last game where we were playing Western Jets, and it was a terrible day. The wind was blowing, raining like horizontally. It just wasn't. Yeah. The game was at risk of being called off, and it was our last game, so all of us were trying to push for it to keep going. But in the last quarter, we were up by a lot, so my backline coach decided to put me in the forward line, and a few of the backs and myself have been talking about how the backs never really get the glory moments. We always might be in the back of photos with our head in our hands, like going, oh, like we should have stopped that goal. And we never really get the celebration moments because that's kind of the forwards. They get the photos after their goals. So we were talking about that before the game, and then my backline coach put me in the forward line, and I had the opportunity to kick a running goal, which was very exciting, and it was nice to see all my teammates get around me, and because it was my first goal for Sandy Dragons ever, and it was in the last game, so it was quite exciting. And yeah, I reckon that was one of the highlights of the season, and like goal kicking career that is quite short-lived, but yeah.
Better late than never. Now, speaking of goalie, would you rather mark or goalie? Which one would you prefer?
Oh, good question. Sorry. I think that it's tough. I think that I would rather mark of the year. I think a really good mark in the back line or something, try and get up for a hanger, but I think mark of the year would be something that I would want to get.
And at least for, I suppose, with mark of the year, you get, if you're lucky enough to the game to be filmed or whatnot, you can get, or photographers there, and you can get a good shot, and then it'll be good memory for people.
Yeah, definitely.
Sure. Sorry, what was that?
I said it would be a great experience to get that photo, but yeah.
Absolutely. Who loves the limelight, the attention, the camera at the Sandy Dragons or any of the teams you've been a part of and just can't get enough of it? And they know where the camera is. We're speaking about goal celebrations before mentioning that. Is there anyone that loves the camera too much?
I don't know if she loves the camera, but I think she just gets the best shots, and that's Mia Zielinski. I think that she always has really, after her goals, she has amazing goal celebrations, and I think that she has a lot of photos of her goal celebrations that obviously make her look really good and really strong. So I'd say Mia would be the person that I think does really well in the limelight. So, yeah.
It's funny, I had her on with Maddie at the same time. We did the goal king comp, and Mia won pretty comfortably in the end, and she said to me on that day that she doesn't like celebrating too much. So I don't know if that's a truth or not, but that's what she said.
I don't know if she loves celebrating, but when she gets a good goal, she kind of puts the arm up and celebrates. And I think that there's a lot of photos of her doing that. So I don't know if she says that she doesn't like the goal celebrations. I think she might like it a little bit. So we'll see.
It's very true. Now, you mentioned being a Demons fan. So let's hypothetically say you're at Melbourne. If you could poach any player or players from another club to join the Demons women's side, who would you poach? Who would you want to poach and why?
Oh, good question. I think Mon Conti for sure. After winning the BNF for the season, I think she's such a strong player. Just her work inside the midfield, her accuracy and her agility is just out of this world. And I think that she's such a strong player, and she's very driven and determined. So I think you'd have to go with her after winning the BNF, I reckon. But or I would poach Libby Birch back to the D's because she's just gone to North Melbourne, which maybe it's probably a smart career move for her. But I think that I loved her at the D's. She was one of my favourite players, so I might take her back. So yeah,
short-lived. It was only yesterday, so
I know.
Later,
I'd do it. I'd love to.
That'd be good. What's something someone does at the club that you can just not stand, whether it's trying to scare people, leave rubbish around, anything at all in particular?
Oh, that is a good question. I don't know if there's any... I don't know if there's anything that annoys me. I think sometimes the coaches can get into you a bit and can kind of play around with you sometimes. Oh, wait, no, I do have one.
Yeah, go on.
This is something that is kind of like an inside joke at our club, and it's not something that annoys me because all of us kind of take part in it. But Mia, again, she started a challenge where she tries to kick the ball from 20 meters away into the footy bin where we put all the footies. So she always goes 20 times if I get this in, and she always goes for it. There's been once in a blue moon where she's got she's got it in, but now all of us kind of have a go in it. And the poor people that stand around the bin are always getting balls flying at their heads. So that's something that I don't find annoying, but I think that's good to kind of have for the culture of our club, that everyone kind of takes part in it. So yeah.
I've actually heard that before. I don't know if it was Jess Shepherd or Emily Gothmont that told me that, but I've heard that one, and I've heard the exact how you explain is exactly how it's turned out. So maybe lift your game in that department. Now, so who's some teammates you've been impressed by, either the Sandy Dragons or anyone that you've come up against that you feel is a bit underrated in terms of talked around the draft, but should probably get a bit more attention than they should, than they do?
Oh, good question. I think that Cam Milias, Cameron, who plays with me at the Sandy Dragons, fielder. I think that she has such good drive, and I think that her work around the contest to get the ball out is so well done. And I think that she put a lot of work into this season. And I think that she definitely deserves more credit for her work because she's an outstanding player, and I admire her work and her determination and how hard she goes at every contest. And I think just her agility and her drive and her speed is something that she definitely uses to her advantage and kicks inside 50. I think that she has been a really strong contender throughout the season. So I think definitely Cam has been amazing.
That's good. Any favourite foods you got?
Favourite food? Well, I like Italian food. All Italian food is perfect. I love pasta, pizza, pasta. Like bolognese is my go-to meal before the night before a game, so that can never go wrong. But I'd say Italian food in general, I think, I love it so much.
Same here. Any favourite music?
Music. Well, as I said before, if I were to sit next to someone, it would be Taylor Swift. So I really like Taylor, but kind of anything. I like The Weeknd, SZA, a girl called Gracie Abrams. But yeah, just everything.
Fair. I got one more question for Peter coming on, Annabelle. It's an interesting question because you are a defender, so this fits your quota perfectly. Defenders, do you feel they need their own official title of an award? Because obviously the midfielders, they have the Brownlow, no matter how many people want to admit it, it is a midfielders award, and then obviously Coleman for forwards award, and Rucks are these days getting involved in votes as well in the Brownlow. So for the defenders, should they have their own official title of a defenders award?
Oh, that's a very good question. Well, I think that, to start off with, I know that we say the Brownlow is a midfielders award, and people do like to admit that, but it kind of has shown that it is. But I think if a defender was to perform well in a season, they definitely could be up in contention for it. But I think that it would be nice maybe to have a defenders award. I think that they do a lot of work, undercover work in the background that not everyone appreciates as much, so to kind of let them shine. I know watching the bounce throughout the men's season, they have the golden fist. I don't know if you've seen that, and that's kind of praises the defenders a bit. So I really like watching that segment and watch all the defender work because the craft that goes into it and their strength and determination to go hard at the ball, I think, is something that definitely deserves to be looked at. So maybe, I like that idea. I think that I could get around that.
I appreciate for sure. Now, one more question quickly I forgot to mention too. A player comparison. You mentioned being a key defender. So what type of defender would you model your game off?
So I was talking about before Libby Birch. I think that she is really, I think that her strength is something that I've admired about her game. And I think that when I decided to work more on my drive out of the back line, I think that watching a few of her game style, like coming out of the defensive 50 and really driving her legs to get it out, I think that that's something that I tried to model my game off and be inspired off of. And then Stacey Livingston from the Collingwood AFLW, I think as well, has been someone that I've always looked up to as a player. I think that her strength, again, as I said with Libby Birch, is out of this world. And I think that her ability to get front position and to spoil or mark the ball in the back line is something that I've tried to model my game off of. So I'd say Libby Birch and Stacey Livingston are the two main ones. Some
good choices there, Annabelle. So I really appreciate you coming on. All the best for the draft on Monday night. Hopefully your dreams get realised and you have a long, successful career, where that is. Appreciate you coming on.
Thank you so much, Cooper. Have a good day.
You too.